Hi, I'm John, and welcome back to Dice Paper Miniatures. In this episode, we're looking at the new Sunday preview for next Saturday's pre-order. A little bit of a hint, we're talking a lot of heresy. Let's begin. Alright, so we're back at it in this episode, and for this Sunday's preview, for next Saturday's pre-order, it's mostly Horus Heresy, which in a lot of ways is super cool. The caveat to that, though, is on a personal note, I was really hoping to see some things for Necromunda, specifically that new Book of the Outlands, but nothing announced yet for when that will be released. So hopefully next week, because this new Horus Heresy pre-order is going to be running for 3 weeks. So I imagine they'll still add to it here in the near future. I hope. All right, well, let's take a look at what we have for this one. So if you've been kind of, away from the channel for a while and haven't been following the Warhammer community, there's been some announcements. Arguably, the Horus Heresy has been the loudest, which makes sense. It's basically an alternate version of 40K. In fact, it's the history of 40K, if you will. The Horus Heresy took place in the 30K, for those that are not familiar with its lore and background. We're going back about 10,000 years, and loosely based on 7th edition rules. Now, the Horus Heresy has been around for a while as a game that was mostly available with models from Forge World. But now we're moving forward with this, I guess you would say it's Horus Heresy 2.0, and it's going to have a lot of plastic bits like 40K. There's still going to be some Forge World stuff you have to buy, but the bulk of what you're buying, at least on this new release, is going to be mostly plastic. So here are the contents in the new box. Now, some of you, of course, have probably seen a lot of videos already on the Horus Heresy, so some of this is going to be familiar, of course. But within the box, we're going to have our tokens, our templates, our measuring whippy sticks, dice, decals, if you're in the UK, decals everywhere else, I think, reference sheets, rule books, obviously, and a ton of plastic. Basically, it's going to be two opposing forces. Your Imperial fists, which are the guys in yellow. You can see those examples here. Basically, on this half of the box, we have 10 Cataphracti Terminators, 10 Tactical Marines in Mark 6 armor, a Praetor, and a Land Raider. Pretty decent loadout to start. And then for the opposing side, the Heresies side, the Sons of Horus. Side note, both sides of this box could be painted to be whatever chapter or legion you want it to be, of course, but this is how it's being presented in the box, because the Horus Heresy, while it focused on a number of legions, the main protagonists, arguably, were the Sons of Horus and the Imperial Fists. All right, but on this half of the box, no Cataphracti Terminators, but instead we get 30 Tactical Marines in Mark 6 armor, and 1 Contemptor Dreadnought, and a Praetor. What's really neat about this box set, aside from just the revamped of the Mark 6 beaky armor, which in and of itself is super cool, we got some great new sculpts as well for those Praetors, and the fact that we get that Land Raider and this Contemptor Dreadnought in plastic. That Contemptor Dreadnought in this image admittedly looks a little bland, but it is fully posable, so you can do a lot of cool things with it. So as I mentioned, it does come with a rule book. It's a 336-page hardback rule book. This thing's immense. We'll see that there's also some other components coming, but this is just what's in the box for now. And I believe it's going to be decals for all of the main legions. I believe it's 18 specific legions that they really focused on for the Horus Heresy. So that's really cool. And it looks like it comes with a 36-page construction guide for all those models, which will be super helpful. And then again, there's your scatter templates, your measuring whippy sticks, and your dice, of course. Now, this is where it gets a little wonky. This is not in the box, but if you order directly from a Games Workshop web store, you can get these additional swag bonus items, which includes the exclusive reaction token, a card set, in parentheses, while supplies last, so this is your FOMO, of course, That means 8 metal tokens and a deck of 8 cards to keep track of the game's 6 reactions and 2 advanced reaction detailed in the main rulebook. They're cool. I'm of two minds of this. On one hand, I like the collectability factor, but at the same time, you can kind of lean into this FOMO as a way of getting an additional like secondary discount on the box. So while you're paying full price going through the web store, as opposed to like if you're in the UK like an Element Games, or in the US like a Miniature Market, or even your local game store, of course, you can usually net a 15 to 20% discount. But instead of getting that discount, if you go direct, these tokens on the aftermarket usually translates anywhere between a 30 to 50% discount. These might probably even go for more than 50. These might sell in the aftermarket for upwards of 75. It's kind of hard to tell. That initial, depending on how fast these sell out, these could go as high as $100 on eBay. Based on your part of the world, that could take a huge portion off of the selling price of the box. It's kind of a give or take how much you want to support your local game store. If you don't have a local game store, but you have a local Warhammer store, then this would be a way of getting some cost savings if you were okay with selling these, of course. Again, I'm kind of two mind of these things. As a collector, I like them, but I also like the fact that I have the option, especially if I buy more than one box, a way of getting some savings in the long run if I want to flip these things. But to each their own. And again, we're getting further out of what's just included in the box. These are those ancillary supplemental items, if you will, that you could order in addition to buying the box set. So we have the Liber Astartes. Basically, this is the Loyalist Bible. There's going to be one for the traders as well. It's the complete repository of rules, lore, and unit profiles for each of the 9 Legion Astartes who kept the faith and stayed true to the Emperor. So, this is, again, GW being GW. They have a great rule book for the box, but it's not the only thing you're going to need, in all fairness. Yeah, you could play with what's in the box, but we all know we're going to want to play a full at least 2,000 point army, likely, and you're going to want to have rules specific to the chapter that you want to play. So you're going to need these books. So there's one for the Loyalists, and then as I said, there's going to be one for the traders, which is the Liber Hereticus. Ignore the mewling of the lack-wit lapdogs who compromise the armies. Compromise? Maybe a Freudian slip? Comprise the armies of the false emperor. The Liber Hereticus is the only tome serious commanders require for the Age of Darkness. Side note, yeah, I'm going trader as well. So while admittedly, if you're going to be a loyalist or a trader, you're going to get the book that's specific to what you're playing. If you're playing competitively, you're going to want to know what the other side is like coming at you with. So you're likely going to buy both books, which is kind of a double whammy. It is what it is. But yeah, each book is going to have your warlord traits, your rights of war, your war gear, your faction abilities, and unique reactions. They've been spoiling some of those throughout the Warhammer community articles building up to this release. In fact, you may see some links up above or at the end on the end card of this video, kind of guiding you to other videos that I've done specifically related to the Horus Heresy. There's more content on those videos that are specific to individual legions. So keep an eye out for those. Check them out. Share them with your friends. All right, let's carry on. In addition to the books, they also have a number of new expansion boxes that are just specific towards basically different loadouts for your army. So we have this first one is the Special Weapons Upgrade Set. What's really cool about these, I think, is that you get a lot of upgrades in these boxes. I think, hopefully, from here on out, gone are the days of trying to buy a bunch of extra models just to get the weapons. You can just buy the weapon upgrade packs now. So this comes with 60, which is really cool. Now, that being said, I believe it's going to be 10 of each style. So, for example, with this special weapons upgrade, yeah, the set contains 10 weapons, each of 6 types: flamers, plasma guns, melta guns, rotor cannons, Volkite chargers, and Volkite cavaliers. They're designed to fit seamlessly into the Mark 6 tactical squad, with hands molded onto the guns to fit your Space Marine arms. So those could be a couple restrictions on these particular things. You're only getting 10 of each, which I want to say, I haven't played Heresy. I've played other editions of 40k, of course, which is what the rule set is supposed to be based off of. If you want to get 20 of a given type, obviously you're going to have to buy 2 boxes. But if you just have 10, then you're fine, of course. So just be, I guess, mindful of that. So while it's great, there's still only 10 of each. And while it says Mark 6 only, you probably can make it work for other marks. You just got to do probably some minor modifications, or just make sure how you glue the arms that things fit correctly. I think it's minor, but just FYI on that. Furthermore, they have an upgrade box for the heavy weapons. Now, this is similar to the special weapons. You don't get 60 total weapons, but you do get 10 of each. And so there's your missile launchers and your heavy bolters. Also available will be these Kratos heavy assault tanks, which are super badass. They claim they're going to have rules eventually for these for 40k. Supposedly, as of the recording of this, they won't be available at launch, but they'll come soon. So, but you'll get some different loadouts. There's going to be 3 options for the turret gun, a 4-piece for the hull weapons and the sponsons, 9 choices of pintle guns, plus dozer blades, searchlights, and gunners. Better yet, you can field this beast in a squadron of 2. Now, while that would probably look really cool in the battlefield, I don't want to get too far into tactics, but they really hype the fact that this new version of Horus Heresy really plays into having a lot of units. So I'm not sure how many tanks you really want. You're going to want probably at least one of these. You're probably going to want at least one Land Raider, and arguably maybe a couple Rhinos. We'll get into that when we get down here further, why I think that's the case. So speaking of Rhino, we have the Deimos Pattern Rhino. So based on ancient forgotten STC technology, the humble Rhino has been humanity's workhorse APC for longer than anyone can remember, and the variant that saw most use in the 31st millennium was the Deimos. So it goes on, this valiant chariot is based on one of the earliest tank designs ever created by Games Workshop, albeit with a vastly improved kit brought bang up to date for the 3rd millennium. But I think that's supposed to be the 31st millennium? Copy editing, you know what it's supposed to be, right? It's the perfect way to ferry your foot-slogging Legion tactical squads between objectives. That, and if you're playing a Legion like the World Leaders that just doesn't want to bother with shooting, it's all about the chain axes and ripping people in half. Yeah, you want to have transports to get your dudes into the action quick and not just be shot at willy-nilly as they're running across the battlefield. But that may be a spoiler to what Legion I'm going to be playing when this thing comes out. All right, so we have the Mark III Tactical Squad. It really does just kind of come down to what Legion you go with. There's going to be some lore with each Legion that kind of dictates, if you want to follow the lore closely, you're going to probably pick some Mark armor that's specific to your Legion for different reasons. Like, for example, I want to say groups like the Iron Warriors and I think the Iron Hands arguably would probably lean more into the Mark III tactical armor, because from a lore perspective, it's the more bulkier, like heavier style of armor that favored their playstyle as far as the lore goes. But again, there's also other marks, of course. Arguably, for Horus Heresy, the most common marks you would see on the battlefield would be marks 2 through 6. What comes in the box is 6. What we're able to buy at the launch will be this Mark 3 and the Mark 4. They're not coming out with Mark 2 at launch, at least not in plastic yet, and they're not coming out with Mark 5. Mark 5, and to be honest, I don't even know how much you can buy in terms of Mark 2 in quantity, but Mark 5 you can buy still, at least for now, as of the recording of this, you can still get the Mark 5 armor from Forge World. But as far as like sexiness goes, I think Mark 4 and Mark 6 are where it's at. Unless you're trying to be like lore specific, again, to some of those units that were really into siege warfare, I personally like the aesthetic of the Mark 4. And as I understand with the lore, that was perceived to be like the best armor. Mark 5 was kind of rushed because we're kind of getting into the mid and maybe even slightly later heresy, to where they were just like trying to build armor as fast as possible, and the quality as far as the lore goes wasn't as good, so it looks a little bit more clunkier. And then Mark 6, of course, was more streamlined, with some different, without getting off on a tangent. The whole point of like the conical shaped beaky helmet was for like more sensor inputs, for doing more, I guess you would say, scouting type missions. Just a different fighting style that the legions were having to do towards later heresy. Whereas but just your classic fighting before it got to the point where supply chains were getting all disrupted, Mark 4 was where it was at. And for me as a World Eater player, that's what I'm going to roll for Horus Heresy 2.0. It seems like a lot of the artwork I see with the World Eaters kind of favors what looks like, from what I've seen, more in this Mark 4 variant, with maybe some Mark 3 thrown in there. And obviously there's going to be Mark 6, because we're just getting so much of it in the box, there's no reason not to. But I personally favor the Mark 4 for sure. What's interesting during Warhammer Fest, not only was Azek Ahriman previewed as something we'd be able to get, it was led to believe at launch. Also from the Burning of Prospero, an older edition of Horus Heresy box set that came out a few years ago, Gygor Fellhand was also another model that was supposed to be released at this time. I mean, that was the impression, because they're showing these together. So I don't know what happened with Gygor. Hopefully he'll be released soon, but as of this preview for the upcoming Saturday, for next Saturday's pre-order, which, by the way, I didn't mention yet, it's a 3-week window. So it's an extended window for pre-order. So just keep that in mind. They're also doing another map. I'm assuming it's a similar or comparable size to what just came out with Necromunda Ash Waste, but it looks nothing like it. This is the Carta Galactica, the Imperium of Mankind. If it is priced like the Ash Waste, this is going to be $29. If it's in your budget, go for it. It's cool. I have a little bit of buyer remorse with buying that Necromunda one for $29 USD. That thing could have been closer to like a $14.95 or $9.95 price point, in my opinion. All right, so I think this is a big deal. You do get decals in that box set, as we can see here. It looks like it's a combo sheet of both the Sons of Horus and the Imperial Fists, but it's just that. If you want your chapter specific one of those 18 legions, you'll want to get this transfer sheet set. Make your new army your own with 18 separate transfer sheets or decals, one for each legion. Each of these contain more than 500 decals, including vehicle markings, script, and assorted infantry marking tailored to your chosen side. I would imagine if you're not playing a Space Marine Legion, there's also the Adeptus Mechanicus, or the Mechanicum is available. The Adeptus Custodes are available to play in Horus Heresy. I'm not going to speak too much on those, but they'll probably have some decal sheets for them as well, I hope. All right. And of course, it wouldn't be a GW release without their own branded Legion-specific dice. So yeah, there's one for every Legion here. The one I thought was kind of interesting was, I'm assuming in the middle row on the far right, that's the Sons of Horus. I'm not sure why it's not the Eye of Horus, so that throws me off a little bit. But all the other dice seem to be specific towards their legion. If you're a Sons of Horus player, let me know why they went with that iconography, if you have an idea of why that's the case. Now here's another one that's kind of arguably another middle finger to your local game stores that have been supporting Games Workshop since they've probably been around. But yet when they do things like the Warhammer store, it kind of pushes you back into their ecosystem even further and away from the local store you've been supporting for years. Now, there's going to be some exceptions to those rules, of course, and they mention that here. The celebrations don't end there. So pop down to your local Warhammer store from next Saturday, and you'll be able to snaffle. I wonder if that's a UK thing as opposed to snaggle in the States. Anyways, snaffle-themed loot including lodge tokens, key rings, pin badges, and vehicle damage counters while stocks last. Speak to your store manager for detail. What's more, the Lodge coin will be available from selected independent stockists. So obviously they can do what they want, but these are one of those things that probably kind of, I don't know, they strike me even more egregiously than the price increases. It's a combination of fulfillment issues, and when they do these specialties that are just for their own stores and not to support local, because let's be honest, you might be able to learn this game in a local Warhammer store, but they never have the play space that a local game store has, which really does the heavy lifting to get this game, I think, and all the Games Workshop games to the masses, right? That's how it's been. That's probably how it always will be. The Warhammer stores function as a nice like window display. That's kind of like walking into a website where you get to see everything in person, and you get maybe a tutorial game. They may even have some minor league play, but they usually only have like 1 or 2 tables, so they really can't get a huge group going in those stores. So to have this type of swag giveaway just specifically to the Warhammer stores, I don't think they need any more incentives. They already have basically the entire product line more or less in their stores. If that in and of itself isn't enough to drive traffic to the stores, and it's just gimmicks like this, I think that's a shaky foundation for longevity, personally. Obviously, people are going to have difference of opinions on those things. It basically means I have to somehow split my budget if I want to continue to support my local game store. I'm going to go that route because maybe I'll get a discount. However, if I want to get these collectible items and want to keep them and not just flip them on eBay, then I gotta throw money at my local Warhammer store. And nothing against the guy at the local Warhammer store. More often than not, a nice person, but I struggle with these things because I do just think it's a rebate offering. You get them to flip them. I don't know if that's really a healthy thing, personally speaking, but I could just be in the minority on that. Maybe most folks just like to keep these things. All right, so that all said, not only is there all the plastic and swag releases for the Horus Heresy, but they're also repackaging the Primarchs, which I find interesting. I'll be curious what the fulfillment of these look like, because right now you can just order these on Forge World. And I thought I was being proactive and ordering mine already, earlier, and some folks may already have some of the Primarchs they want to use as far as what legions they're going to play with. But I'm hoping that because I already ordered it on Forge World, I'll get it earlier than later than when these are offered. In retrospect, that's my biggest concern now. Are the Horus Heresy pre-orders going to take priority over the Forge World orders? I guess we'll find out. But yeah, if you're not familiar with Horus Heresy, the specific 18 legions that they focus on in the lore and that are featured within the rule sets, there's what's called a Primarch for each one of those legions. And to go much further than that would require separate videos for each of the legions. But basically, each legion's champion, if you will, is a Primarch they refer to as like their gene father. Each legion is comprised of the gene seed, basically from their Primarchs. Now, the Primarchs were lost within the lore setting, and when the Emperor went on his crusades, as he discovered his lost Primarchs, he integrated them into their given legion. Some legions just kind of seamlessly put their Primarch into their fighting force, if you will, and then they took the mantle of the leader of the legion and sallied forth, right? Others did not get along so well with being brought into their legion. A perfect example would be, as I mentioned earlier, I'm playing World Eaters. Their Primarch, Angron, did not play so nicely at first with his legion when the Emperor basically abducted him from his planet to be the leader of that legion. So there's some interesting lore bits, but these Primarchs bring a lot of flavor as well as a potential competitive advantage to have within your army when you play Horus Heresy. So some folks may have their Primarchs within their army, some may not. For me, I want to play with Angron because he's the ultimate Leroy Jenkins. If you don't know that reference, I don't know what to tell you. You can Google that like later. All right. But yeah, I do think it's pretty cool that they're offering the Primarchs as a repack that you can order from Games Workshop, which, again, another benefit of ordering from a Warhammer store. When you order from a Warhammer store, they have their kiosk in the store. It acts as if you're ordering from the website, but you're also ordering from the store. So that allows you to earn credit towards, typically there's going to be a monthly collector coin. So for every $100 you spend in a Warhammer store, which would include a website order on that kiosk, will earn you credit towards that collector's coin. So when the smoke clears, not only will you get all the Horus Heresy swag from the web store at the Warhammer store, you'll also get the collector coin that likely you'll also get the collector coin for that month. And if the store still has a lot of those coins for the month in stock, you're going to wind up with multiple collector coins. I'm not saying you could flip them on eBay, but that would be another way of getting a cost savings rebate on this order. So the fact that they're adding the Primarchs in, all of which I believe every single one costs at least $100, that's a coin right there. So that's another upside perk if you're going to order from a Warhammer store. So with that said, there's also these Mark 6 heads and shoulder pads. These are really cool, obviously, especially if you're playing Mark 6. The only downside is that they only have them available for the legions that are included in the box, right? The Imperial Fists and the Sons of Horus. I really dig these Sons of Horus helmets. The Imperial Fists are cool. I'll be honest, they are cool. But the Sons of Horus are just, yeah, they're way more sexy, I think. Now, as I said, that's a lot of stuff. It's heavily weighted towards Horus Heresy for sure. But it's not the only thing. So we do have some Middle-earth releases as well. So we have the Grimbjorn. This, honestly, even if you're not playing Middle-earth, if you're playing something like Frostgrave, this is a sweet model for like a ranger. And then in addition to Grimbjorn, we have the Bjornings. Again, great looking sculpts. I've not been the biggest fan of the Middle-earth line, but these sculpts are really cool. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a Sunday preview without a little bit from the Black Library. So, Chthonian's Reckoning basically is a release with the Horus Heresy. It goes on, this anthology contains 7 all-new short stories from some of the stalwarts of the Black Library. Sons of Chthonian by John French, To the Last by Michael F. Haspel, The Gangs Beneath by Gary Kloster, The Flesh Harvest by Nicholas Wolfe, Traitor's Faith by Noah Van Wyn, For Hate's Sake by Gav Thorpe, and Postulant by Chris Forrester. It's the perfect complement to the game, going deeper into some of the setting's key players and factions, and it'll be available in 4 formats: a hardback novel, ebook, MP3, and a luxury collector's edition with a leather effect cover. They also offer the Lupercal's War. So this hand-picked collection of 21 short stories is a whistle-stop introduction to the Horus Heresy. It's perfect both for grizzled veterans and for people who are new to the setting. With tales from a series of Black Library luminaries, it's available in paperback and ebook editions. All right. Yeah, for those of you unaware, the Horus Heresy storyline is like 50-some novels. It's a lot to read. I was trying to get through it through Audible, but I'm only like halfway through. So it's a lot. And then a pretty cool Horus Heresy bookmark. If this is your jam, this is pretty cool. And then, of course, they offer these other books in different languages. Looks like we have French and German. And then event announcements here in the US. So, and of course, Warhammer Plus. All right. Obviously, the big thing is Horus Heresy. All right. So, yeah. What do you all think? Initially, I was really excited for the Horus Heresy when it was announced, but I wasn't sure if I was gonna jump on it and play. Now that we've had such a huge marketing push and a lot more announcements of, different models coming to plastic, etc., I think this will probably be my 40k fix, especially since it seems to play closer to Age of Sigmar. I like the ability to have a little bit of interaction within my opponent's turn and vice versa. That's kind of been one of the negatives I've had with 40k for a while, is it's like my opponent's going to do his thing. I might as well go take a nap for a while and come back or grab a beer, get something to eat. It's cool in terms of that dynamic where you can kind of like dial out of the game for a while. But I like that back and forth interaction more that you have in Age of Sigmar. And that's really kind of how they're pitching Horus Heresy. So I become way more excited about it. I've been watching a lot of the older Heresy editions videos on YouTube, admittedly a lot, and it's kind of guiding me towards. I was going back and forth between Blood Angels, which is what I was like my first chapter I played in Warhammer 40k. I was thinking if I do play Horus Heresy, I'm going to go Blood Angels. From the traitor side of things, I've always been attracted to the Sons of Horus and the World Eaters for sure. I always just knew them as, in 40k it was just Khorne. Like I don't think locally I don't know why, we just never, it was always just like we're playing Khorne. Yet we always said Death Guard. We didn't say Nurgle. You know, we always played Thousand Suns. We didn't play Tzeentch, but for some reason no one ever said World Eaters. It was always Khorne. So yeah, just a weird, I don't know, local bias or something. And of course, even with Slaanesh, I think I do think we're playing Slaanesh. I don't think many folks locally said Emperor's Children. Weird. Anyways, that aside, I'm going more towards World Eaters. So like I said earlier in the video, I went ahead and ordered my Angron. I've been contemplating getting the World Eater specific Contemptor Dreadnought, but I'm kind of torn. I'm a little concerned if I hold back, is that going to be a model that if it goes temporarily out of stock on Forge World, how long will it be out of stock? Or are they going to do some more like chapter upgrades or Legion upgrades, not only for the Mark 6 Space Marines, but are they going to go ahead and do plastic upgrades for the vehicles as well? I've heard some conflicting rumors. Some say yes, they are. Some say no, that's going to be what Forge World's like niche is still, to have those Legion specific upgrades. Okay. So if that's the case, then maybe they'll do more than just like the doors on a Land Raider or Rhino or whatever. I guess only time will tell on those things. If you have more information in regards to those, definitely leave a comment below on that. I would definitely like to get more information for sure. But as far as what's coming out for this Sunday, that really is it. Horus Heresy is by far and away the big one. I am disappointed we still haven't seen that Book of the Outlands yet for Necromunda. I don't get it. That box set is playable without that book. However, I mean, with the Horus Heresy, we're getting the Legion books right out of the gate, right? We're getting both the Loyalist book and the Traitors book. I don't know why we couldn't get that Book of Outlands for Necromunda. That's just a kind of a point of contention for this Sunday's preview announcement. Other than that, though, if you're a Horus Heresy player, this announcement is like all your jam. This is great. And again, for me, I'm super excited that they're releasing kind of a lot of stuff with this box set at launch. You know, not only are you getting those Legion books, but the Mark III and the Mark IV armor variant boxes, I'm super stoked about, because I wouldn't want to have to wait for those. That would really suck. So, but what are your thoughts? Are you digging all this stuff coming out at the same time? Are you wishing they would kind of stagger it a little bit, because it's going to be a huge dent to your pocketbook, your wallet, whatever, for sure. It's going to be a lot of money. Yeah. We'd love to hear your thoughts about that in the comments below. But that's it for this one. As always, if you've enjoyed this content and you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. It's free. I do have a Patreon, but if you just want to subscribe, that would be fantastic. As well as hitting that notification button so you don't miss any future video content. And if you like this content, definitely hit the like button, as well as sharing this with your friends, because it really does help with the growth of the channel. And as a YouTube content creator, that's all we're really trying to do, is just get our voices heard and be able to engage and share with the community. Not to mention, it's just really greatly appreciated. All right. Well, as always, I hope you're all doing well. Be safe, take care, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.